Okay, well, I'm going to do an equilibrium brine on a turkey. So the first thing I want to do is get my container, tear it out on my scale, and then put my turkey in and water to cover. I put ice in there to keep it nice and cold. And I'm going to weigh the water and the turkey completely in grams. 16,882 grams is my weight in turkey and water, and that's what I'm going to use to plug into my calculator. So this is the calculator I'm going to be using from diggingdogfarms.com, and it says it's for a dry curing calculator, but if you do it for a wet cure, you just have to add the weight of the water as well to get your amounts. So remember, I'm going to set it to grams. Our total weight was 16,882 grams. Cure number one, that's information is already in there for you. Desired salt. It was originally set at 2. I put it down to 1.75 just because I already have, I got a turkey that's kind of pre-brined, so it's already got some salt in it. So we're going to try this, and I bumped the sugar up to 2%, and then we hit the calculate, and it gives us the grams, weight in grams of all the ingredients. And this is it's a much more accurate way of calculating than measuring teaspoons or cups or whatever. So this is what we're going to use: 42.14 grams of cure, 255.93 grams of salt, and 337.64 grams of brown sugar. That's what we're going to put into our cure. Going to mix that up and stick our turkey in it. Okay, there, I got all my ingredients measured out. My cure number one, my salt and brown sugar, all weighed out in grams by that calculator. Now the great thing about using a calculator like that and in grams for your ingredients, you're weighing your ingredients instead of measuring your ingredients, especially with salt, is the different types of salt will measure and weigh different amounts. Like if you're using a coarse salt, like a kosher salt, versus like a canning or pickling salt, a cup of that will weigh completely different. So by going by weight instead of by a measure, we get our controlled amounts. And you want to make sure you use a canning or kosher salt without any additives or fillers. So it's a straight, plain, non-iodized, just regular straight salt. This is a canning salt that I have here. Now we're going to mix all of our stuff into our chilled water and get our turkey in. So here's another calculator I like to use at genuineideas.com on equilibrium calculator, but this one doesn't have the curing salt part of it, but it's just for doing an equilibrium salt brine calculator, and it works really well. I've used it. Nice thing is you can put in your type of salt that you're using, again, all that information, and it will give you the amounts, and weight of each item. Now, the nice thing I like on this one is it has a brining time. So in the brining time, you can put your thickness of your item in inches or centimeters, and it will give you the minimum time. You can add and it says to add 20% to make sure it's fully cured. So this gives you a good idea of how long it needs to go to be fully cured. So I'm going to try to measure the thickest part of the turkey and punch that in, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so measuring in the thickest part of the breast meat, it was about 3 inches, and it's kind of tubular, kind of like a hammer, tenderloin. So it says 5.6 days. minimum time. And so we're gonna add 20% to that. So 20% of 5.6 is like 1.12, so it comes to like 6.72. So essentially it's about 7 days. So will take about a week. I'm also going to use a needle and pump those, at least like the breast meat, with cure. And the nice thing about the equilibrium cure is you can't over cure it. So I'm gonna go like minimum of 7 days, but if I go 10 or 11 days or what, I can't, it's not gonna over cure. I'm not gonna get too salty. With other cures, they're they're over salted to make sure you get enough in there. And then, you gotta pull them out pretty exact or they're gonna get too salty. This way with an equilibrium brine, that's not gonna be an issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and pump this thing, and we're gonna get that back in the fridge and get it curing. So I'm not sure how well I'm gonna be able to do this, but I just took my needle in there and pump some in. And this I just got at like probably at Walmart, but just stick it in, especially like along the bone there, because you're not going to get as much penetration through the bone as you would if it was just going to meat. But just pump that baby, and that will help. Whoops. Try not to squirt it everywhere. That'll help make sure the cure gets everywhere it needs to go. I'll do a little bit more, and then we're going to be calling it. You notice here that I got threw some bay leaves in there. I'm just going to put some peppercorns in there as well, just like a couple tablespoons, but I don't have any on hand, but I'll throw some in there. I'm going to get some here in a day or so. But just about 3 or 4 bay leaves in there just to add a little bit to it. And you want to make sure you weigh it down so it stays completely submerged and get her in the fridge. Well, we are back. It's now Friday the 24th. This turkey has been sitting in the brine since Wednesday the 15th, so it's been there good 9 days or so. And said we should go at least 7 days to be fully cured. The nice thing about it, again, with the equilibrium brine, is you don't have to worry about over curing it or over salting it like you do with other brine methods. So we're going to let this air dry, probably put a fan on it for a bit, let the skin dry out. While we do that, we're going to get the smoker up and rolling and throw this baby on and follow along for the ride. It'll be a fun day. So here's my smoker setup. I'm using, you may have seen this before, it's an old propane smoker. Pulled the burner out, the stovepipe over to the firebox, and I'm using some royal oak lump charcoal today. I have oak pieces I'm going to add to it. It's about 27 degrees out right now. Hoping we can maintain the temperatures that we need. If I need to get up higher temperature, I can always pull out one of those stovepipe lengths, bring everything closer, and that'll boost my temperature. I just got a little torch for lighting. I think I just picked this up at like TSC. Awesome. Smoke schedule, I'm going off the smoked turkey recipe from Great Sausage Recipes and Meat Curing by Rytek Kutis. A lot of good information in this book where I've learned a lot about all the different sausages that I make. I did not use this recipe for my brine. I did the EQ cure, but I'm going to try to at least use this as a guide, somewhat of a guide, for the smoke process. Kind of just depends on how the smoker runs. So, see, I got my my thermometer. Right now I just got the probe in the smoker, and it's just so nice because I can have this unit inside and I can monitor everything. So get yourself a good wireless thermometer. They're wonderful. I think I just got this off of Amazon. So we're already up to 124. I want to get up to about like 130 to start off with. So we're looking good. Okay, well, we're about ready to get this thing on the smoker. I'm going to try to get this turkey into one of these meat bag things. It comes in a big roll like this. I got it from the sausage maker. That's 50 feet of it. So that'll last me a couple of turkeys. But that'll help everything hold together nicely and make it look nicer when it's all done. Fortunately, I cannot find where my wife put my tripod, so I'm not going to videotape actually trying to stuff this guy into that, but I'll show you when I'm all done. Well, wasn't quite sure if it was actually going to go on when I started, but it does stretch quite a bit. It was not really pleasant to do, but it worked. I started it first of all, I tried starting at this end, and that wasn't getting anywhere. So I started at this end and kind of sort of rolled up a bunch and pulled it on, got it up to here so it would stay, and then you just kind of have to work it on bit by bit, and then pull it over, and then work on some more, kind of like your wife putting on pantyhose or something, or if you wear compression socks, a little bit more like that, because it was definitely compression. But got it on and then just tied off the ends, and should hold together nicely. Okay, got it all in, rocking and rolling. Got a probe in the thigh and a probe in the breast, and a probe on the smoker. So, top one is in the breast, and the bottom one is the thigh. We may have to adjust those positions as it goes along. See if they're reading how we want them to read. But let that smoker come back up. We're gonna let it go for a while without putting any wood chunks in, and then we'll start throwing wood chunks in. And maybe an hour. It's been about an hour, running between like 130 and 150, which I'm totally happy with that. So I just added some more charcoal and a couple of oak chunks. We'll get that going, get the smoke rolling, and keep this thing going. What I'm finding with this lump charcoal is that it just doesn't build a coal bed quite as well as, like regular charcoal, but I like using the natural stuff. So, hey, live and learn. We'll try this out this time. Well, it's been about 5 hours. Let's see what we're looking like. There. Getting there. A long ways to go yet. Here it is in all its glory. Took it took a long time. In fact, finally after about 13 hours, I pulled it and brought it in, put it in the oven, and cranked the oven up to 350 to finish it. So, I don't know. If we do this again, I'll probably spatchcock the turkeys. But we'll cut them open, see what we got. And we can certainly see the pink in the thigh, like meat, so cure, so we have good cure penetration. And it's juicy. At least. I'll have to give some more try. So I have some quick final thoughts on this experiment, trying to do equilibrium brined smoked turkey. I did not end up following the smoke schedule in the Rytek Kudus book. That schedule called for an hour at 130, and then 4 hours at 140, and then raising it to 165 and letting it go all the way, until I hit 160 internal. I did my first hour at about 130 to 145. Then I bumped it up to between 150 to 180 for about 5.5 hours. That time, I think it was running internal about 120. And then I bumped it up to between 200 and 220. And it went, I had it out in the smoker for, it was probably 13 hours. And it just really, it wasn't getting above 130 internal at that point. It probably sat at 130 for several hours. And it was getting late at night, and I was like, I'm not going to get this up to 160 anytime soon, even running at those temperatures. So I made a decision to pull the turkey and throw it in the oven at about 350, hoping also to kind of crisp up the skin a little bit. Took about another hour and a half to get up to temperature. Pull it out, cooled it down, stuck it in the fridge overnight. In the morning, I sampled some, it was cut into it. The thighs, you can tell that the cure got all the way in where it needed to go. So that part was good. The meat was juicy and tender and tasted great. But the skin was horrible. It was tough and chewy. There was no really eating it. It's kind of like chewing on a dog toy or something. So, yeah, that was a big failure. Would it have been different if I just fully, committed to doing the schedule in the original recipe, the Right Kudos recipe, and leave it at 165 and just let it go to 160? For one, that would have taken forever. Maybe that's just the way it is, but I didn't have that kind of patience. So we'll never know the answer to that, because I'm not going to do that. But I do have 2 turkeys that I have to get done up for Thanksgiving coming up. And I want to get them done, the next couple of weeks, because I have knee surgery coming up in early November. And I am going to probably end up running those. First of all, I'm going to spatchcock them so they cook faster. Actually, I'll probably just cut them in halves. And then I'm going to use the brine like I did before. So I think that worked great. But I'll probably smoke them at like 150 for maybe 5, maybe 6 hours, just to get a really good smoke flavor on them. And then I'm just going to go ahead right then and bump the smoker up to, 300, 350, somewhere in there, and to finish it off. And hopefully that will still, be able to crisp up the skin some, and we'll end up with a good product, get enough smoke on it, and end up with skin that we can enjoy too. So thanks for watching, and if you watched all the way to the end, I appreciate it. Like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing 2 more turkeys coming up in the next week, and changing how I smoke them, and I'll post those videos. So look for those and check those out and see how my results come out. Thanks again for watching.